Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. Is it actually true that during a cut the bench and the press go down? If so, what exactly causes the loss? Nobody seems to know the proper reason. Yeah, they do. I've discussed this many times. Look, every lift can potentially go down when you cut. Why? Because size equals strength. Most of the time when you're cutting, unless everything is completely perfect, you are losing muscle tissue with the fat. Okay? Particularly when you start getting fairly lean. Okay? You are sacrificing muscle, therefore you lift less weight. Let's forget about the press here because we're dealing with two different animals, and I don't think everyone says the press. It's the bench press, specifically the bench press. We have research on the bench press, comparing it to the other lifts, and we know it is most heavily correlated with body weight out of the big three. Deadlift being the least correlated with body weight. This is what the researchers at universities and exercise science have determined. Body weight affects it the most. Now you would say, why? Well, number one, obviously, the bigger your muscles get and the bigger your pecs get, the shorter the range of motion gets on the bench press. Okay, you reduce range of motion, therefore you can lift more weight. But what about fat? If you have intramuscular fat, subcutaneous fat, and fat under the skin, everything else, your chest is bigger. Therefore, you have a thicker surface to press the bar against on the way down. If you start losing body fat and you reduce the range of motion, or you add a half inch to the range of motion, or even an inch, what happens? The bench is going to be a lot harder because you're adding an inch to the hardest part of the exercise. Also, because the bench press uses less muscles than a lot of other exercises in the body, it's a little more reliant upon intramuscular leverages, particularly around the pectorals. And here's what I want you to think about with the angle of pull. Okay, all that intramuscular fat, and we do store intramuscular fat that we lose when we're cutting, fat under the muscle, okay, all that is affecting the angle of pull also as well. So in general, it's body fat does improve your bench press. Unlike a lot of other lifts, like body fat can actually make the deadlift more difficult. But the bench press, body fat increases it. In other words, if you just bulk up and get fat while training the bench press, your bench press will go up. You don't need any special programming. You don't need accessory lifts always. If you're just following a straight bench program and you bulk up and you get fat, your bench will go up as a result of you getting fatter. When you cut, again, you lose some of these leverage and range of motion advantages. The bench tends to go down. It's really pretty straightforward, in addition to all the other factors involved with muscle and energy and everything else when we train, right? We know that lean tissue is an issue. But in this case, body fat actually helps the bench press directly. Actually helps the bench press directly. All right, next question. I often find I do my best lifts in my second or even third exercise. I'm starting to do more maxes, but I am wondering if there are any ways for me to find my groove more quickly, or is that just part of the learning curve on conjugate training? Okay, this is, again, someone who is newer to conjugate lifting, newer to maxing out. And he noted that sometimes he's stronger even on supplemental movements and stuff later. And I had him kind of answer other questions. All right, what we're dealing with in this case is that, number one, you're not used to maxing out. You're not used to maxing out. It takes your nervous system a little bit of time to get primed and warmed up. It takes it time to get primed and warmed up. So what he's noticing is that sometimes he's stronger, or relatively stronger, in terms of what strength ratio should be on a second exercise, third exercise, versus when he goes for a max. In your case, you're not giving your nervous system enough priming. So we come over to the point. Why do we warm up? We warm up to get stronger, okay? We don't warm up to prevent injuries. And I've had people get angry at me for saying that in the past. And I will state that completely. There is no good evidence of which I am aware that warming up reduces injuries when you lift weights. That's not why we do it. And so when I say something like that, people assume I'm saying don't warm up. I said nothing of the sort. You're not doing enough ramp ups. You're not doing enough singles to ramp up. You're probably trying to hit your peak lifts too quickly instead of smaller jumps. We're all guilty of this sometimes. Because you're not used to maxing out, it's going to take you more ramping to get to a max. It's going to take your nervous system more time to get in the groove. Because again, we're talking about the groove. We're talking about grooving. Well, you find your groove with the ramp ups themselves. All right, we find our grooves with the ramp ups. Maybe you need to take smaller jumps. So in other words, let's say you think that you're going to try to deadlift 405. Right? Well, maybe you need to hit 5 singles on your way up to 405 after 300. Okay? Maybe you need to go 315, 325, 345. Or, 315, 345, 365. 385, 395, then 405. Then see if 405 is even your max. You might find you can make another jump after that. Right? You probably need more ramp ups. And we don't like to do that on deadlifts because they're tiring. They're tiring, but sometimes it's necessary. Again, you've got to get up there and you've got to get your nervous system ready. Or that might mean you do more singles with 315. You might want to actually do 3 or 4 singles with 315 a minute apart. If you're struggling with that, if you're noticing that you're stronger a little later in the workout after a max lift, you're just not priming your nervous system enough with enough heavy, moderately heavy singles to get into the groove. It's as simple as that. All right, next question. If a novice works out 2 times a week, Monday and Wednesday, instead of 3, on what day should he stop bulking and eat at maintenance? For example, should he bulk Monday through Thursday and then on Friday he should go back to eating at maintenance? I'm not sure what would qualify as maintenance here. Let's say if I didn't work out ever at all to maintain my weight, I would have to eat 2,000 calories. What would be my maintenance, or would it be even higher, though a few days have passed since my last workout? This is why half of guys out here struggle to gain muscle. Your maintenance is not a day-to-day thing. Your maintenance is a weekly thing. Okay, if your maintenance calories are 3,000, that means that's your average throughout the week. When you're trying to micromanage food intake on a day-to-day basis and you're trying to actively gain muscle in a calorie surplus, you guys have to drop this silly, stupid shit of eating different calories on your workout days versus your non-training days. I mean, what sheer stupidity. And I have to be honest, this is the sort of stupid shit that makes you guys have to hire coaches. I'm going to be honest. This sort of stupidity makes you never make gains and have to basically hire a coach to tell you to eat the same calories every day. You're going to have to pay somebody to coach you if you have this level of thinking, because your mindset is so far off, you are doomed for the rest of your training career by even thinking like this. Okay, how in the holy hell are you going to gain muscle at maintenance when you're a skinny guy, skinny novice? You're not. Okay, do you think that the food that you eat is all processed the same day you eat it? Do you think that the food you ate the day before your next training session doesn't impact your training workloads and volume and recovery? It does. Okay, if you train on Friday and it's a hard workout, what you eat Thursday is going to be important. It will affect the next training session. It will affect it. In fact, you're still digesting and absorbing food from it. Do you think that when you're in a surplus that you only gain muscle as a result of your training? No. Fat people gain muscle just from overeating. All right? You need to eat your surplus every day. You need to eat your surplus every day. We also come back over to that question: if a guy is actively trying to gain muscle training, why in the hell are you only training twice a week? Have you ever seen a good novice program with less than 3 days of training? Doesn't exist. All right, this sort of micromanaging of calories is exactly why half you guys out here who complain that you can't get bigger or stronger, you can't get to a 315 squat. This sort of crap is exactly why. All right, if you're trying to gain muscle on a bulk and you're a skinny guy, you need to be eating in a surplus every single day. I'm not saying to bulk and get fat, but you need it to continue to gain muscle and recover and to fuel your training for the next workout. You need to be gaining weight continually. Even if it's only 2 pounds total a month, you need to be gaining all the time. This sort of, again, micromanagement kills gains. This is paralysis by analysis. And it's obviously a mindset from people who don't understand how the human body works. And I'm not trying to be a dick to you, brother, but I mean, damn. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.